Hi everyone, it's Ash here from FPL Hints with my final FPL draft squad for Game Week 8. As you've seen, I've put out now my third draft video, and there's been a bit of tinkering here and there from the start to the finish. I've seen lots of other people put multiple drafts out, but the reality is I already had a very good idea as to which core players I wanted in my squad. So in total, I've had 3 drafts from start to finish. Before we get into it, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to just buy me a coffee, that's completely fine as well. The link is in the description below. And if you also want to see my first draft and my penultimate draft, the link will be in the description below as well. So onto my final team for this wildcard. It is as follows, and there's not a lot of difference between the penultimate draft and the final draft, but the tweaks are significant enough that I had to shift around some players, but it was worth the tinker. So in goal for game week 8, I've got Turner, and that obviously means I've got Areola as my sub 1. It's very lucky that we've got 2 playing 4.0, well, 4.2 in Areola's instance, goalkeepers in the game. So can't go wrong with him. I'm not going to really say too much about him. I've explained why I've gone for the budget options in my first and second wildcard videos. And onto my defense, I essentially have 4 starting defenders. So I was in a situation whereby I wanted those that are very likely to start, those that are not at risk of rotation, and those where I'm not really, well, for the most part, worried about clean sheets, but it's about the attacking returns primarily. So that effectively meant that I gone for Trippier. Again, he's been on a fantastic run of form. Cash as well, showing his form of late with those double-digit hauls that he gets from time to time. And Udogie, albeit he's not been on a fantastic run of late, there's just so much potential with him and this turn of fixtures with Angeball. And Anderson, a surprising pick from Crystal Palace, who's actually been chipping in with clean sheets and goals. The best thing is that his fixtures also turn with a set of green block games at hand as well. So I'm forced into a 4-3-3 formation with the team that I've picked. I was looking for the flexibility of going 3-4-3 at times, but it would have meant cheapening out on one of my midfielders that I wasn't prepared to do. And ultimately, the change that I've made is in midfield, whereby I've got Mohamed Salah, I've got Maddison, and I've got Son. So my penultimate draft had Kulusevski, and my thinking behind Kulusevski was that he's a regular starter for Spurs with the Angeball era at hand, but he's not been. I've checked his again. I'm not one to massively look into XG and XA, but wasn't fully convinced on that side of things. And the reality is, if you can push for an extra 0.9 million, you've got to get Maddison in. It's a no-brainer. And then you've got Son as well, of course. And of course, we've seen in seasons gone by, Son and Kane combining spectacularly really well. And I feel that in this instance, I have to get Maddison. I'll be crazy not to. And he's one of those players that if you don't own him, you're just dreading not owning him because he's like a player who plays like a premium, but without the premium price tag. Same could be said with Son for this season as well, albeit Maddison's a lot cheaper. You've got to get that Spurs double up. It's Angeball. You need those 2 players. If you're on a wild card, you'll be hard pushed not to have Salah, Maddison, and Son. I literally asked myself, who are the 3 players that I want from midfield? And I know that this goes against the norm of the way the game is this season. We've got a plethora of budget I say budget, players who shouldn't be 7 or 8 million that are, and it means, and a lot of 6.5 million midfielders as well. And I should be picking 5 optimal midfielders, but I don't really care. The context is I'm 2.9 million now, I think. Got a 500k rank rise after having a mediocre game week 7. And I really want to get players that offer significant upside. Salah, Maddison, Son, good run of games, proven prowess. They've got form. I had to shoehorn them in. Now, the other upside to that is I also wanted a robust strike force as well. And of course, I already had Haaland, I already had Alvarez, but Watkins was the missing piece in the jigsaw. He's obviously been chipping in with returns, albeit he wasn't scoring at the start, he was just getting assists. He's now scoring. That haul last weekend wasn't good for my overall rank. Didn't realise he's owned by 1 in 5 managers, and no doubt his ownership will continue to rise as well, and he justifies his recent England call-up. But I've seen a lot of managers trying to justify having Watkins for Alvarez, or getting Watkins and Alvarez and selling Haaland in some instances, which is crazy. And the problem is many FPL managers can't get those 3 strikers in. I've not seen a single draft with those 3 strikers. And before I continue, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It's a very unorthodox approach that I've taken, and I don't really care what other content creators have done. I've literally gone by what I want to do. And I want to go with an aggressive team, and albeit I'm lacking in depth, I'll come to the bench in a minute. It's all about this front 6, power 6. Salah, not at risk of rotation, has form, good run of games. Maddison, Son, no European football, not really at risk of rotation, good form, green block games. Watkins, you'd expect him not to be rotated in the Premier League matches, good run of form, green block games. The City assets, arguably, Haaland's form has dipped of late. Alvarez has continued to show fantastic form at his price point. Doesn't really matter that they haven't got the green block fixtures. They have that proven pedigree of being fixture proof. So I'm happy with them as well. I can't make a case for selling any of these players. And if you're on a wild card right now and you want to decide who to get in, please tell me in the comments below why you wouldn't pick any of these 6 players. And the chances are that if you're on a wild card, you have to do a lot of upside chasing. You're not here to play it safe. So you've got to break that 5-man midfield complex, and you just have to go for broke. Like, from my perspective, I prefer the safety first approach. I prefer going at an incremental level, but I have to take risks. And I feel that I can justify these 6 picks. If it was like a Foden or a Richarlison, okay, you could say I'm being a bit crazy with a 4 or 3-man midfield with those assets. I couldn't justify it. But I feel that with these players, I'd really hope that they're not at risk of rotation. And I've given the reasons why I've picked them. I feel the reasons are logical, and it's over to them to fail on me. So yeah, let's see what happens on that front. But of course, sacrifices have to be made. You can't have them all. I would ideally have wanted a reasonable sub 1, and in my penultimate video, I had Kulusevski instead of Maddison, which meant I had the funds to have David Luiz of Aston Villa. But then I just felt that, really, David Luiz, do I really want him as a sub 1? And I might be benching him for the times he's getting his returns. And before David Luiz, my placeholder, I think it was Ward-Prowse, but it was actually Neto, who I felt was the ideal sub 1. If I had the money, I'd want Neto as my 4th or 5th midfielder or as an ideal sub 1. I think he makes perfect sense. But look, I'm going for this power 6 attack. I know it's all about a power 7 attack, but then the upside, like I've said, I've got some fairly robust defenders. I've got Trippier, premium defender, attacking prowess, Cash, upside, Udogi, both less than 5 million, and then Anderson, who offers that recent form, bit of a differential, albeit his ownership is rising, and he's got the attacking prowess as well. All of these defenders have a significant amount of attacking prowess. It's not as if I've gone for that 6-man attack with a bunch of 4.0s as starters. Of course I haven't. So I feel that I can really justify it. Of course, one injury and the team is doomed. And I've got the international break to navigate as well, which doesn't exactly help. So yeah, the plan is that I go all out with these players, and then I'll take each injury as it comes. I've got nothing to lose. If I was 100k, I'd play it safer. I'd go for what the template is right now. I don't even know what the template is right now. I'm looking at my situation. I'm looking at my risk threshold, which is substantially higher when you're at 2.9 million. I'm willing to take calculated risks. And this is the 6-man attack that I've invested in. Of course, you then ask, what is the bench? So Areola in goal, like I've said, with Areola and the fixtures that West Ham have throughout November, December, I've got no doubt that, of course, I probably won't start him in 8 and 9. But then right up until game week 10, throughout November, December, almost up until the end of December, I could pretty much start him. So happy with him on the bench. And Anderson, who has been starting for Newcastle of late in the league and has been putting relatively competent performances in. Again, I've got the peace of mind with him. He's not going to hemorrhage my bench with attacking returns. I only got 1 assist this season. And Newcastle have a reasonable run of upcoming games. If I get a no-show and I'm getting a 2 or a 3-pointer with him, then so be it. It's not the ideal situation. He's 4.4 million and can't really go wrong with him. But I'm just looking at the last time he didn't start. That was game week 4. And even if he doesn't start and I've got a 1-point cameo auto subbing on, well, that's what you get. And then sub 2 Nakamba, I didn't really even want him in my team. Didn't want any more Luton players in my team. But then the price rise for Maddison meant that literally every other 4.5 midfielder was really off the menu. But then there aren't really any 4.5 midfielders to choose from. Paradoxically, it's the 4.4s and the 4.3 that are available who have been getting minutes. So Nakamba just like slotted into the jigsaw piece. And then the sub 3, I've mentioned on the last video, it's Charlie Taylor of Burnley, 3.9 million, getting starts. Lots have been going for Lamptey. I just feel that Lamptey's minutes, even without Estupinan, will be managed and he'll get rotated left, right, and centre. Might even not feature beyond the next 1 or 2 games. But Taylor, dud sub 3. We're not going to hopefully get many clean sheets from Burnley. So if he's getting a 1 point at sub 3, I'm fairly content with that. And I just want to really say this as well, that we're all playing our own game. We've got our own strategies in play. Some are looking at those wildcard teams and thinking, are they missing out or not? Some are saying they're going to wildcard during the international break, which is logical. But then you look at the price rises that have happened over the past 7 days. I don't really care about team value, but I've benefited significantly. I've probably benefited by the price swings, maybe just under a million, 0.8 price swings by getting the players in just before their prices changed. I've lost a lot of value I would have lost a lot of value if I kept some of the players from game week 7. But it's a tough balancing act. But it just made sense to me, even though I had a green arrow in game week 7, that the upside was too hard to ignore. The moment the Chelsea fixtures turned red, the moment the Spurs fixtures turned green, it's the perfect time. You got Luton away before the international break. yeah, some will say, oh, they'll wait, they'll give Rashford or Mbeumo another chance, and I've got no doubt they'll probably bang now that I've sold them in game week 8. But I wanted this for the reasons that I've stated, and yeah, it could probably go wrong. I've got no flexibility in the formation, and it literally will take one of these players to get injured for this to all go horribly wrong. The hope is that I don't. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. International break. I'll probably have to make a transfer. Ideally, I can roll a transfer after the international break. So by game week 9, I can not make a transfer. Game week 10, I've got 2 free transfers. That's the ideal scenario. But I'm mentally prepared that I'd probably have to make a transfer in game week 9 as well. But then I look at these players and I'd hope that rotation isn't an issue. Is Udogie at risk of rotation at Spurs? I have no idea. And if he is, I can't get Pedro Porro now because his price has gone up. So I'm literally maxed out. I'm absolutely rinsed of cash here, pardon the pun, purely because of the team structure. It won't allow me to get anyone else. And yeah, this is the way I'm rolling. Now, having said all of that and me saying this is my final draft, important caveat, I reserve the right to edit my team at any time. And if we find out, again, I really hate acting upon team leaks this season, especially because it went against me before game week 1 and also in game week 3 when I tried getting Mohamed Salah in and the game froze. But if I get reliable information that Son is not going to start the match against Luton, then clearly I'm going to shift him out. Who I'm going to shift him out for, I haven't got an idea right now, but it might just be a placeholder who I can then obviously shift in. I'd probably someone significantly cheaper. You look at some of the fixtures as well for game week 8. We won't even know if Diaby's fit, unfortunately. Diaby was one of the players I actually wanted, and I wanted the Aston Villa triple up, but the yellow flag was a cause for concern. So I had to then shift away from that mode of thinking and decided just to go for the Spurs double up in the end. And I even thought about the double up with the Villa players as well, with Luca Dean and Cash. I thought, no, Dean's been just too much trouble. I think he's a yellow card away from missing a match as well. So that was not my, that wasn't the way I was going to go. But that's what I've got. I have no idea if any other content creator has gone for this Power 6 attack. I have done so for the reasons stated. Once again, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Please let me know in the comments below if I'm absolutely crazy doing this, or if you can see the logic behind it as well. In terms of the misses right now, clearly there are a lot of high-owned players I don't have. Estupinan, who obviously is injured right now, and his ownership will massively drop, thankfully. Saka, who he's highly owned, and he'll probably start against Man City as well, but then just that injury flag is a cause of concern for him as well. So there are some players in terms of effective ownership I am missing out on, but I'm not playing for effective ownership after all. I'm playing for overall rank, and I have to take risks. I was lucky to get a 500,000 rank in game week 7, but yeah, I'm not. I need even more upside. And even on captaincy, I've got no doubt. I've seen people selling Haaland, which is a bit nuts. I've got no doubt in game week 8 that Salah and Son will be popular captaincy picks due to their fixtures. But yeah, it's a tough one. Again, Saka, clear miss for me. Estupinan, miss as well. Mitoma for Brighton, another miss. Could have potentially managed minutes again. And then again, I'm just looking at the highly owned players. In fact, I'll switch my screen here just to show this as well in terms of overall ownership. The ones that are missing here: Saka, Estupinan, Mitoma. Surprised that Mitoma's over 40%. Didn't realize it was that high. And the others I'm not calling out because I've already got them. And then Saliba, an Arsenal defender. I did talk about getting a Gabriel in my team as a Arsenal defender at 4.7 million, and he actually was a placeholder where Anderson was. But then in that instance, I then realised I wouldn't be starting an Arsenal defender for the next 2 games at least. You've got Man City, Chelsea, and then of course they turn green by game week 10. So my hope is by game week 10, I could have 2 free transfers and get an Arsenal defender in if I absolutely needed to. But yeah, with Gabriel, I couldn't justify it. I think the risk of rotation is probably gone from him for now, but I would have literally had him as a sub 2 or a sub 3 for the next 2 game weeks, so it didn't make sense. But yeah, Arsenal defender is high on my list. And then you've got Mbeumo, who's just gone completely off the boil after the first few games. Rashford, another one. Form isn't there. There's been some talk of Rashford potentially losing his place as well. So 2 players I owned that I've got rid of. Odegaard, very interesting pick. Significantly lower owned than Saka, but yeah, probably wouldn't get him. If I'm going to get an Arsenal attacker again, it would be Saka. Isak, rotation risk. Udogie I've got. Edison I had. Let's not talk about him. Onana can't buy a clean sheet right now. Yeah, Bruno, surprised his ownership's dropped significantly as well. Botman, who I did have before my wildcard, but then he got injured annoyingly. Jared Bowen, who with the turn of fixtures, I could potentially get him in if my team structure changes. Leno, fantastic goalkeeper, but the goalkeeping strategy I have can't get him in. And then you're literally down to Walker, Romero. You get Anderson, 14%. That's going to rise significantly. Ward-Prowse, and then Foden on the end of the final page. So, yeah, surprisingly, despite going a bit unorthodox with that 4-3-3 formation and being very premium heavy, I've been fortunate that Saka's yellow flagged, Stupinan is injured as well, that this team could probably defy that for game week 8. But then again, just need to be mindful of some of those missing players as well beyond the international break. So yeah, look, I'm fairly content with that. I feel that the case has been made for my 4-3-3 formation. And yeah, if it all goes wrong, then what all I can do is just take more risks. If you're in that situation where you're chasing rank, all you can do is carry on chasing rank. I've not been able to play in this way in probably almost 3 years now, whereby I can take a risk on captaincy, I can take a risk on going against template. But I've got no doubt that many of these players are like template heavy as well, like I showed on the ownership. So it'll be interesting to see if this becomes a template. Who knows? I hope so, because that means I'll go up the rankings in the initial part of the process as well. So there you have it. That is my final draft squad for game week 8. And as mentioned, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best for game week 8. And like I've said, caveat, I am prepared to change my team at the final minute if I get significant news, but I'd hope not. That this is my final draft, so I'll leave it at that. Take care and all the best. Thank you. Bye.